Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Thursday, the 17th of December, 2020. Well, I did this once, and then it froze, so I have to do it again. I knew it. I just should have rebooted the computer before I started. And I did a video the other day. Well, I think was it yesterday or Tuesday, one of the two. For Magical Musings, and I posted it over on Patreon. So if you want to see it over there, it's locked to patrons, so you'll have to subscribe. You'll have to join. You don't have to do it for every single month. I just have the tier set at $1, so it's $1 to join. You can do it for the month. You can do it for the year. However you want to do it. But if you want to see that, it's about using herbal incense and the different things you can use, different herbs and resins you can use for just making loose incense, basically for protection and cleansing and purification. So anyhow, you can use that in your rituals or magic or whatever. And a lot of the time, the grinding of it can be actually part of the ritual when you're blending it together in a mortar and pestle and all that. So anyhow, that's over there if you want to see that. It will unlock over here both to the blog and to YouTube on, let's see, I guess next Wednesday is when it will unlock for that. And then it'll be open to everybody. But otherwise, if you want to see it ahead of time, you can go over there, but you'll have to sign up if you do. And if you do that, thank you. I appreciate that. Today, I'm going to go ahead and redo the cards, though. The other ones were, the world was part of it, and the Page of Swords and all of that. So we were looking at a new direction, new information, coming full circle and all of that. Let's see if the cards continue that same vein. I am going to keep the same runes, though, and I'll show you them. Because I think they're interesting because they're both, they align together. This is Odin's rune, or Ansus. Spirit communication, eloquence, but it's eloquence drawn from spirit as opposed to ego. And then Albus is the geomancy rune for the day. Now, Albus is the sage, or it also means white hair, like mine, and which I've had actually since, I stopped dyeing my hair when I was 33, and the grow out was this. So, anyway. And I'm 63 now, so I've been like this for a long, long time. It was funny because we were teaching karate at the time, and we had we had a mixture of adults and kids, and the kid classes, they would monitor Mrs. Erickson's grow out at every class, so we'd all have to go and look, and I have to pull it, and say, okay, this is how far it is. We're at 1 inch, we're at 2 inches, And so I just kept trimming my hair, and eventually, I didn't have any brown left. It used to be brown, a lot of red in it, but it used to be brown. And but this started when I was 16. I noticed it when I was pulling my hair back in a ponytail, and what was coming in was this right here. Was it this? Yeah. This was the streak, the initial streak right here. You can kind of see that it's a little bit more clumpy than the rest. Well, that's because that's what happened first. And so, consequently, anyway, the rest was history. And eventually I just, decided I wasn't going to dye my hair. And I thought, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to in fact, I even stopped perming my hair. I just thought that's dumb. And so I mean, because mine never turned out very well. My perms wouldn't stay very good. They would it would start out fine, right? But then, you hope that it stays the same type of curl, but no. And so I think it was just my hair. And I think that it was, probably higher self saying, no, you have to be who you are. Don't do that. And so I stopped, and I've never looked back. So anyway, so that's my alignment with Albus. I don't know about the wisdom so much, but at least the white hair part and the age, you know. But anyhow, I just think that we've had a lot of expression of ego, you know, of late. A lot of lying, a lot of deception, a lot of self-dealing. Just in terms of virus alone, not even in terms of everything else. The information that's come out, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think yesterday. The days run into one another for me anymore. I don't know, but it's like how many hours ago did this drop? But the words are, we want them infected. See, we all knew. And I told my husband, I said to Jerry, I said, look, way back in the beginning, something isn't right here. He's saying this is fine. It's not fine. And I know it's not fine. Why is he saying that? None of that's true. So what's he doing? What's he pulling? You know, what's he trying to achieve here? Well, now we know. He wanted to just let it wash over the country. He told us that. Let it wash over the country. Let herd immunity. Well, if that were to happen, they're estimating 6 million people would die. Is that okay? Well, according to him, it is. And I mean, there was even, I guess, it's either an email or a memo or something, or a memo sent out by email, but where they seemed to be a little irritated that their plan wasn't working, that people weren't cooperating, that they were wearing masks, they were separated, they were staying home. It wasn't part of the plan, right? So anyway, it's time for the ego that has run amok to go away, and maybe we can get started into another type of experience. You know, I think when you look at the two individuals in question in terms of the presidency, you're looking at two fundamentally different people. And I'm hoping that, you know, President-elect Biden can undo the damage that's been caused. Can't bring back people that have died, but maybe he can get us all on the same page and get everybody to understand that it isn't that it was a hoax. It's that we want them infected. That's the quote. Directly, I mean, I put it on my Facebook page, the letter that says it. We want them infected. It's sick. It's sadistic. It's what it is. And that's what we've been living under. So the last, the one I did before this thing froze up on me, that was basically the reading, that we're turning a page on that and we're getting back to normalcy. But what kind of normalcy with so many people that have already died? We've got over 300,000 people that have died from this. They didn't have to. The pain people are experiencing right now. You know, but can you imagine, after all this, people still can't figure out they have to wear a mask, they have to stay away from people right now as the virus is ticking up exponentially around the country. Can you believe that? That's what he's done. He's lied so much that the people that support him think that none of this is even true. There's even nurses. There was a nurse that went online and said, yeah, you know, patients that don't believe, that think it's a hoax, they think they don't understand why they're dying. They don't believe that it's the COVID. That they think that the hospital staff they're all lying to them. See, the effect of the ego is strong, isn't it? Let's go ahead and take a look at the cards again. See if we get the same kind of reading. Well, here we have the Seven of Pentacles, and this is a really interesting card. I say this every time. It reminds me of my husband when he's standing out in the field irrigating or something. He'll just stand there, lean on his shovel, and just kind of think, look around, you know. So this is Jerry. But anyway, this is a card of balance with the Seven. What he's doing is he's standing there taking stock of what he has, of his harvest. You know, so what kind of harvest do you have? You know, is it one that's going to sustain you? Or is it one that's going to sustain someone else? You know, where'd you go with it? Who'd you do it on behalf of? Did you do it on behalf of your family? Or did you do it on behalf of someone that you're never going to see a benefit from? That's the kind of experience that's been going on for people. And unfortunately, you've got a lot of people that have gotten caught up in this guy's delusion, and a lot of people have died from it now. 3,400, can you believe that, in one day? It's only going to get worse here if we can't stay apart over the holidays. The people that couldn't seem to do that over Thanksgiving, they're paying the piper now. And why would you do that? Why would you risk anyone at all? Why would you risk anyone at all? Ask yourself that if you're doing that. I mean, who are you to do that to somebody else? But we've gotten so caught up in the me of it all that, and my rights, and I have a right to do this, and no one should be telling me what to do. It's like, well, but don't you have a sense of shared purpose at all in there, where you want to make sure people don't get sick? Don't you have that? See, a lot of people don't right now. And it's weird. I never thought that I would see something like this, but yet here we are. But here we have the lovers, and we had this the other day. We see the sun shining down on the angel who's above, and you see Adam and Eve, representations of Adam and Eve, with the oak tree behind Adam showing strength. Problem is the true strength is behind Eve and the wisdom. And look where she's looking. She's looking to spirit, isn't she? She's looking at the angel, bringing the message of God down. And you have Adam who's looking at her. That's fine. But, the true strength is found in the tree of knowledge. You see the serpent behind her. The knowledge was given to the women of the time because the men couldn't hear it. They were caught up in their own men things, warring and things like that. They didn't have, well, they weren't the ones birthing the species. And so, the folks that were here at the time that genetically manipulated us and all of that, they brought the wisdom and the knowledge to the woman. And that way she could make sure that her family was protected. And it's because it's not, you don't remain protected through warring. You remain protected through wisdom. And, and that's what we're seeing here with Albus, is wisdom. And that's also implied in Ansus, where you're letting the voice of spirit inform your way forward. So the whole, religious teaching of Eve took the bite from the apple and caused all the trouble we've had ever since. No. The men would like us to think that, but then, the reaction then was the patriarchal societies that came up, and the subjugation at some point of women and children and the family to whatever the whims of the men were. And there were plenty. So, but this represents a balance. It represents coming into a balance with self and others, based on spirit and not on ego. I mean, they're telling us right here where our focus should be. And it's with the woman, and she's looking toward heaven, toward the angel, the messenger. So it's about polarity, both without and within. Let's do a third card. Well, here we have the Page of Pentacles. We're going in a new direction. Pages are about new beginnings. They're about undeveloped potential. They're about, the page is usually considered a student in the court, whereas your knight is going to be someone who's already been to school or already gotten their training or whatever. Now they're going out on their quest, for either the family or the community or what have you, right? Or in the case of like the Knights Templar, that was a whole other different thing going on. But the idea was, because they brought about the money system and it got real dicey there at the end. I have a lot of Knights Templar in my ancestry, and when they died, it was interesting. It was in 1307. And it was on was it October 13th? Was it on my birthday? I think. But that's when the decree went down, or maybe it was the 31st. And I thought it was the 13th. Well, anyway, I'll have to check that. But basically, what they were doing wasn't satisfying the current Pope and the current King Philip at the time, and so they decided that they were traitors and they were going to burn them, which they did. But I think that a lot of them escaped, and the wealth that they had, I mean, that's what they wanted. They wanted the wealth that they were controlling. Um, so you see a lot of things with knights that you can think of them as being on the Grail quest. But the idea is that they're doing something on behalf of others in a protective, dynamic, vital way. So here, though, with the pages, you think students and undeveloped potential. I liken them to the ace of the minor arcana and to the fool of the major arcana, where it's everything is on the precipice of something new. And here you have this, and this is about material security. Something new is happening with respect to our material security today. And our fundamental way of and our fundamental way of existing in the world. We've taken stock with the seven. We understand that we have to come into balanced polarity with self and others to be able to move forward. And the page is suggesting that that's what's going to be happening. We're going to be able to move forward in terms of our material security, in terms of how we see things. In order to do that, though, you've got to get clear about what's going on, right? If you've been under a certain perception that things are a certain way, and you discover that they're not, i.e., we want them infected. Well, maybe, when we start to see what exactly it was this man was trying to do to all of us, what sadistic thing was going on, maybe we'll be able to release perception that we've been stuck in, and to see that the only way forward is together. If we expect to survive the pandemic without, another 300,000 of us dying. Can you imagine that? 3,400 yesterday, I guess. Or maybe it was the day before, where we had 3,400 people die in one day. When they didn't have to. I guess that's the thing that gripes me. We could have all come together, hunkered down for a couple of months, given the virus nowhere to go. It would have burned itself out, and we would be in a very different place right now than where we are. We might still have to be careful. We still would need a vaccine. But maybe the numbers of people that have died or have got, permanent injury from this. Did you see that one article a couple days ago that the White House security guy that decides who's got access, he handles all of that. He's lost the big toe on one leg, and he's got an amputation below the knee of the rest of the leg, the foot, and part of the lower part of the leg from COVID. I guess they didn't bother to give, him the good drugs that they gave, Rudy and Chris Christie, and I'm glad they gave them to them, but it would have been nice if everybody could have that, and maybe we wouldn't have the numbers dying that we have. Because when you die alone. Your family isn't there. I mean, the PTSD alone people are going to suffer from all of this. It's going to be mind-numbing, and it's going to go on, right? Let's take one more card. Yeah, I think that the we want them to be infected is this card here. Here we have the Five of Swords. Now, swords is the air element. It's the intellect. It's communication. It's interaction. It's reason, justice, balance. Five is change. You see the sketchy brown clouds there, and you see three people in the picture. You see a guy who is looking back at the other two. He's got three swords in his hands. Looks like he's picking them up. The spoils of the fight that he clearly won. The spoils of the argument. You see one guy down by the water's edge. You see a demarcation line. It must have been very emotional, whatever it was, because that was then and this is now. but he's down there by the water's edge and he's bereft from it all, isn't he? And this guy here is watching him. He's very concerned about him, or at least appears to be. But he's not this guy. None of them are this guy. This guy is the one that deceived. And now he thinks he's going to ride off into the sunset, with the winnings, basically. So I would suggest to you that the managing of the pandemic has benefited people financially at the expense of people being harmed or dying. So I think that that's what this is saying. But that's the point. The clouds are dissipating here. It's not covering the whole sky. The truth is going to come out, right? And I think that it has with that report of we want them infected. Look, it's time to let go of this guy and understand what he did to the country. And more of that's going to come out as to the other things that were done to the country. But just in terms of the virus alone, we were sold a bill of goods that some people believed and others knew better than to believe, that it was fine. You can go out there. You don't need a mask if you're outside, as long as you're socially distanced. That's crap. Okay? If you're breathing, if you have it, you're asymptomatic, you're shedding virus, and it doesn't matter if you're outside or you're inside. If you're outside, see, you have the advantage of the wind blowing, and so if you're downwind of it, maybe you get it, right? So I think that the idea that we could ever function and go about our business normally when this thing was hitting the country was nonsense, and it showed a deliberate level of self-dealing that has done nothing but harm and kill people ever since. So we have to turn a corner. We have to take stock of what has happened and what's happened to our material security. We have to come into balance. We have to come and balance the masculine with the feminine, the projective with the receptive. We have to understand as well when we're being lied to. Okay? We have to understand when it's ego speaking and when it's spirit, the voice of spirit speaking. And then we have to take a new path. Putting our material security first and not the self-dealing of a madman. Okay? Can you imagine? Yes, open the schools. Got to get the schools open. Got to get the businesses open. Gotta. But let's not give them any money to do that with. To do it so that our children could be protected. Because say what you want to about everything else, our children have been in danger by a crazy man who couldn't bother to tell anybody the truth. We have to come from a place of wisdom now. And I was so amazed when I drew both Albus and Ansu's, because it's really reinforcing that. We have to let go of the ego in the White House currently, and send him packing, which we did on November 3rd, even though he doesn't want to accept it. And let the lunacy go so that we can stop people from dying. When you see the earth element, it can mean a lot of different things. It can mean employment. It can mean, home, hearth, family, community, whatever. But at the heart of it is security. How secure are we? Now we have millions of people that are considered food insecure. They don't have enough to eat. And now they're thinking about simply giving a stimulus check of $600. Oh yeah, that's going to pay the rent. That's going to put food on the table for a family of 4 or worse. Oh, absolutely. That's just going to be the be all and end all. Is it? How insulting is that? So we have issues of material security that we've been dealing with, not just the pandemic. Had the PPP funds actually gone to the small businesses instead of the mega churches and the big and all these multi-million-dollar corporations and all these, people that don't need it, right? Had it actually gone to preserve the small business in this country, you wouldn't have so many of them closed. They don't want to give you extended unemployment. They don't want to do anything tax dollar wise to fortify the businesses so they can be open safely. The schools so they can be open safely. They didn't insist on people masking up for 2 months to shut down the virus. No, 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 no. Let's let it wash over the country because we want them infected. Those were the words. And when you look at the other documents that what was it, Politico got, or whoever it was, BuzzFeed, Political, whoever it was, got this, and we see the mindset behind it all. Don't actually protect anybody. And they wanted to focus on children and young people. They wanted to make sure they got it. That's why he wanted the schools open, so he could use our children. No, we got to take stock. We got to come into some kind of balanced thinking. Balanced polarity. Going into the future. So that we can let go of the deception and the damage from it. So, I tell you, when I saw this information, I don't know. I mean, I got teary-eyed. I don't know. I was just like, on the one hand, I was right all along, as were millions of other people, because I'm not the only one who believed this from the get-go. We knew intuitively. It was said on Twitter, I think was it Morgan Fairchild who said that we knew intuitively that this was happening. We just didn't have the proof. Well, now we do. Now we do. So let's embrace a new future together. One that's based on wisdom and spirit and spirit informing the process. Spirit informing our perceptions instead of the ego running amok and destroying everything in sight. So that's where we're headed. That's the message of the Page of Pentacles, right? So thanks a lot for watching. If this is your first time here, we're going to get back to normal here. I swear to you. I feel it coming. We're going to get back to normal. We're not going to have to be dealing with this stuff anymore. Trying to figure out what the heck is going on as we watch people we love dropping like flies. That's nuts. Never had to be. Never had to be. So, anyhow, thanks for watching. And we'll see you either for Esoteric Influences on Sunday or back again on Monday for another somewhat daily tarot and rune. We can take a look at the first few days of the week and see where they're taking us, and then we'll come back on Thursday and do it again for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So anyway, thanks a lot, and wear a mask if you go out. If you have to go out, try not to go out. Don't gather over Christmas with anyone. I'm sorry about that, but we have to do that. And we've got to protect what we have left. So, wear a mask. Not just a face shield, but a mask, please. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.